Jake Paul fighting somebody half his size is a fucking bully. Why are you fighting a guy half his size? It's wrong.
Yeah.
I know he can't fight. We know he's playing at the game, but he's gone from Krusty the Clown now to Sideshow Bob. He's getting worse.
That's disgraceful. I'm gonna stand in your corner. You must be mad. You must be mad. I would
when
never be in your.
When they had the press conference and he put it on Eddie, put it on Conor, people dismissed it, and I thought, why are people not giving this boy his props for that? Because I've been one of those fighters that have been on the card that's fallen through, and you've spent money on training camp, sparring partners, and you've not got a penny. I've been one of those fighters that have turned up to a fight, the fight's been cancelled the day before, and not got a penny. So for Chris, the fighter, to do this, you know, he put it on Eddie, he put it on Conor, and realistically, he was trying to shame him into doing what should be done, and they didn't. So you guys should be.
Stephen A. Smith ERUPTS on Conor Benn vs Chris Eubank Jr. rematch, and he's spitting nothing but facts. Benn's chasing paydays instead of pride. Fans can see through it now. If Conor wants to be taken seriously, he needs to stop cherry picking and prove he can hang with real contenders, not legacy names.
It's a money fight, I get you, and you want to make money. But at some point in time, if you keep telling us that you're taking boxing seriously and you want to be recognized as a big-time boxer / fighter, you're gonna have to fight somebody closer to your age who is a...
Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back. He called this fight a flat-out disgrace. He reminded everyone how the first bout left Eubank Jr. dangerously dehydrated, needing hospital care after cutting too much weight. Smith's outrage hits hard because he's right. This rematch feels more reckless than real, built for money, not boxing.
He can fight. He can fight. I respect it. So go in there against fighters. You should be climbing the ladder towards those other fighters and taking the sport seriously to the point where you're fighting actual boxers. Now he just...
But then Johnny Nelson jumped in, and his words made the whole debate explode. Johnny Nelson came out swinging, and he wasn't pulling punches. He praised Eubank Jr. for showing class, but tore into Conor Benn's camp for pure greed. This isn't just about pride anymore. It's about principle. Eubank's thinking like a real fighter, while Benn looks like he's cashing in without conscience.
To Eddie, to Conor, shame on you. Why have you not suggested? Why is it me as a fighter that said, you know what, some of the profits I'm making on this fight, there you are, boys, because I'm making mad money, these aren't. And so good on him, and shame on the ones that have ignored him, that don't do it.
Carl Froch said what many fans are thinking: this fight is pointless. Eubank Jr. being forced down again to a dangerous weight is madness, while Benn walks in heavier and fresher. Froch is right, it's not about legacy or rankings. It's a money grab that risks Eubank's health more than his record.
He's not developed, he's done nothing. So for Conor Benn to jump in there with Chris Eubank Jr., the only reason that fight would be close is because they're probably going to drain Eubank down to 160, a middleweight. And then, but Conor Benn's having to come up from 147.
Yeah.
So
the gap there,
it's not an exciting fight. It don't prove.
But surprisingly, Froch didn't stop there. He went on to share why. Despite it all, fans might still tune in. Even Froch admits it. The first fight was chaos, but it was entertaining chaos. Fans love the drama, the bad blood, and the unpredictability. Eubank's toughness stole the show that night, proving he's built different. If the rematch brings that same fire, it might just be the madness fans can't resist.
And Eubank Jr. had to pull out a career best performance to take this fight to the distance and win a points decision. So the rematch is happening. I'm actually looking forward to the rematch because the first one was so exciting. I didn't think it'd be that good. I mentioned about the levels of it. I mean, the boxing skill and the quality of actually the art of pugilism kind of went out the window because of the way these two guys went at the fight.
Eddie Hearn laid it bare. The science behind making weight is brutal, and few understand how much it truly affects a fighter. Chris Eubank Jr. learned that the hard way in the first fight. He wasn't just cutting weight, he was cutting power, endurance, and sharpness from his body. The moment he stepped on that scale, he'd already lost before the first bell even rang. Ben, on the other hand, walked in fresh, hydrated, and with the physical edge. It's what makes this rematch so controversial. The balance just isn't there. Fans want fairness, not another repeat of a drained fighter walking into a mismatch disguised as a rivalry. Hearn's words confirm what the critics have shouted for months. The weight manipulation is part of the storyline, and it could decide who truly survives when these two step into the ring again.
So what will happen is, when a fighter makes weight, I mean, a lot of people know this, but for people who don't, they don't eat straight away. It's the last thing you do. You rehydrate with liquid for a few hours, right? So as soon as you do that, you will put on 6 or 7 pounds immediately.
Johnny Nelson's statement split the boxing community right down the middle. To say Eubank Jr. has peaked is bold, maybe even harsh, but it's hard to ignore the truth in his words. Eubank's career has been a roller coaster, from showing flashes of brilliance to being dragged through brutal battles that left scars both physical and mental. Nelson sees a fighter who's been through too much, while Ben, still young and hungry, is just starting to find his rhythm. But experience counts, and Eubank's heart has carried him through wars before. This rematch could either expose the miles on his clock or prove that grit and discipline still trump youth and hype. Nelson's take stings because it's real. Boxing doesn't forgive time, and both men are fighting not just each other, but the narrative that defines who's truly built for greatness.
Personally, I just think the last performance of Chris, I thought you've got nothing left. You've got there's no more improvement on what I'm seeing there. And I know there was a weight issue and all the build up to it. I thought there's no more improvement there.
Does that mean you think do you think Conor Benn will be better in the second fight?
Yes.
Does that mean that you think that by him being better and there's no more left from Chris Eubank, that Conor Benn's able to bridge the gap and get an outcome in his second fight?
Tony Bellew hit a nerve with this one. His words captured what so many insiders have whispered. Time is Chris Eubank Jr.'s biggest enemy. After years of wars and draining weight cuts, his body has taken a toll that can't be ignored. Bellew's assessment is clinical but true. The window for Eubank to reclaim his best form is closing fast. Meanwhile, Conor Benn is in his physical prime, brimming with confidence and momentum. But that's where Eubank becomes dangerous. He's the wounded lion. Every time fans count him out, he digs deeper, reminding everyone that pedigree still matters. This fight isn't just about youth versus experience, it's about survival versus resurgence. Bellew's take forces one question into every fan's mind: can experience and pride still overcome the slow fade of time?
For the fact of, if Conor goes down to 147, he ain't going to be fully ready to go back to 160.
And as Bellew's words stirred debate, Adam Smith perfectly summed up what's truly on the line for both men. Adam Smith's take adds the perfect emotional balance. This rematch is more than a grudge match. It's a crossroad for both careers. For Chris Eubank Jr., victory could silence the critics, reignite his ambitions, and rewrite the narrative that he's past his peak. A loss, however, could mark the end of his world title dreams. For Conor Benn, it's about redemption and proving he's not defined by controversy or catchweights. Both fighters carry legacy names, sons of icons, but this fight is where they carve their own. Smith highlights what's at stake: pride, legacy, and the right to claim relevance in British boxing's next chapter. Whoever wins doesn't just move forward, they own the spotlight, the headlines, and the future.
And I think Eubank Jr., if he gets this win, and there's a new lease of life maybe under Bomac, 2026, maybe finally he could become a world champion. But he's got to get past Conor Benn first, and Conor Benn, not just hungry for revenge, he believes he can win this because of what happened first time round, because he went 12 rounds at middleweight, up in class, after a long layoff. Some people fancy Benn in this.
Conor Benn's words say it all. This is no longer just a boxing match. It's personal, raw, and fueled by resentment. There's no pretense of mutual respect here. Ben feels disrespected, convinced that Eubank Jr. underestimated him the first time around. And perhaps to some extent, he's right. Eubank didn't expect the smaller man to bite back so fiercely, but Conor's confidence walks a fine line between self-belief and arrogance. Claiming Eubank's scared might ignite more than just hype. It could awaken the ruthless side of Chris that thrives on being doubted. This rivalry has gone beyond weight and skill. It's about pride, humiliation, and unfinished business. Ben wants to prove he belongs among the elites, while Eubank is fighting to remind everyone that he's still the dominant force. One thing's for sure, when emotion fuels a fight, logic goes out the window, and chaos takes over.
I would say there's been a lot of respect anyway. Personally, I don't like him. You know, he thought I was going to be an easy touch, which is why he fought welterweight. So is there much respect there? Not really, but you know, ultimately, you know, I'm ready to honour my side of the agreement, which was the 2-fight deal, and it's safe to say he's scared. You know, he almost lost. Could have gone either way.
Duke McKenzie's perspective brings it all into focus. Whatever you think of Eubank versus Benn, you can't deny its magnitude. It wasn't just a fight, it was an event. The legacy of two famous boxing families clashing under the lights created a spectacle that the sport rarely sees anymore. Fans filled arenas, social media exploded, and every major outlet had its eyes glued to it. This wasn't about belts or rankings, it was about history repeating itself in a new generation. McKenzie's right, you don't need a title on the line when you've got emotion, pride, and legacy driving the story. That's why this rematch matters. It's not about proving who's technically better, it's about who carries their father's name with more fire, who can handle the pressure, and who can rise above the noise when the whole world's watching.
You know, like I say, the fight wasn't a letdown because it was a good fight, but as an event, you won't get a better event than that, and they'll have to go some actually to surpass that, or even equal that. Let's just hope they get the same turnout in terms of the numbers, people going through the live gate and watching that fight, because it was a great event. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. You won't get world title fights that actually are a better event.
Eddie Hearn's tone says it all. This isn't just another promotion, it's a war of pride. When he says Conor Benn has zero respect, it's a direct shot at Eubank Jr.'s arrogance and the chaos surrounding their last clash. Hearn's frustration shows that even behind the cameras, tempers are running high. He's framing this rematch as redemption, not just for Benn, but for his entire camp, who felt humiliated after the first loss. But beneath that confidence lies a warning. This time, they're not just fighting a name, they're fighting a mission-driven Eubank. Hearn knows the spotlight's harsh, and one mistake could flip the narrative completely. The promoter's fire matches the fighter's energy, and that's what makes this rematch electric. It's not clean, it's not respectful, and it's definitely not friendly. It's personal from top to bottom.
Honestly, this guy has zero respect for anything. And I hope people can see through it. Some will, some won't. But if you can't see them, that's a lot of what happened up there was just wrong. So listen, we go to work and we're in to win the fight. It's going to be different this time. Last one.
The countdown to Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn 2 is reaching fever pitch, and this time the stakes couldn't be higher. Chris Eubank Jr. isn't just fighting an opponent, he's fighting perception, critics, and time itself. After the controversy and chaos of their first clash, he's back with something to prove. That class, experience, and pride still mean something in this sport. On the other side, Conor Benn enters with youth, confidence, and revenge burning in his eyes. He wants to step out of his father's shadow and carve his own legacy by dismantling one of Britain's toughest names. Every jab, every round, every exchange will tell a story of heart, ego, and legacy colliding under the lights. This isn't just boxing, it's personal war. So who's your pick? Eubank's redemption or Benn's revenge? Drop your predictions in the comments below.